Oh, hello and welcome into another episode of the Calcio Connection podcast. We are connecting with you, Italian football fans from all over the world. I am your host, Alex Donno, and it's kind of ironic. 2 weeks ago, we did an episode while Jerry had COVID. Jerry toughed through it. Last week, we didn't do an episode because I was sick. Wasn't COVID, although listen, I felt like crap. So I made Jerry do an episode 2 weeks ago with COVID. I took the week off last week, but we are back, and we have our guy Riccio with us, and I think this is a cause for celebration. I actually thought about making this the YouTube thumbnail for the episode tonight, but I don't know. I kind of figured it might troll a little bit too hard, right? That people wouldn't have the sense of humor. But yeah, Roma have won a trophy, my friends. Roma win the inaugural season of the UEFA Conference League. Nicolo Zaniolo scoring the game-winning goal against Feyenoord, and man, Roma's back line and Rui Patricio and net looked fantastic. I'm alongside Jerry Mancini. Let me introduce Jerry before we dive into Roma's victory with Mass. Jerry, how's your week going so far, sir?
It's good. I can't complain. I really don't care if Roma won. At the end of the day, people think I'm salty. I'm not. It's banter on Twitter. I don't even care that Zaniolo was saying F you, Lazio. I'm not going to go cry to the FIGC. And
is that like a new thing, by the way, that when teams celebrate like a trophy that they've got to like banter their rivals? Well, and listen, it's fine.
There's a history there.
The spoils, yeah.
There's a history
that Zaniolo has been taunted bad by Lazio fans. Like they laughed at him when he got hurt. Apparently, I don't know the whole background story, but I remember after we won the first one 3-2. He told them to suck his, what, and there's a video he's grabbing his balls, and he's like, and basically, there's a lot of hate. It's not Roma the team, it's Zaniolo versus Lazio, really.
Okay.
If you look at when he does the video and he's chanting it,
he was really drunk too, though. Like he looked like he was on one.
But you don't see no player come kind of like go with him. Even the Zaniolo chant of Zaccani's kid. None of the players really chant. If you really look at it, they don't really reconcile with it and kind of like get involved with the song. They kind of have their backs towards the fans when they're singing that, if you really watch the video. I think the players don't really get involved with that kind of thing. I don't know if Zaniolo was singing it. It
was the fans. The fans were singing.
The fans singing, yeah. It's not the players. So I think a lot of people have to look at that too. I saw people like laughing about it. I think it's funny by the fans. Like, don't get me wrong, it's banter if it's fair, but I don't think the players would acknowledge that. So I kind of respect that from a player standpoint that they kind of like respect the individual still, even though there's a rival. Like they don't make it personal. I don't care if Rui comes to Lazio, okay? I do not want him at Lazio, okay?
Wait, are we talking about Mario Rui?
Mario Rui, I don't want him at Lazio, okay? Fucking.
He had a good. He's so bad. I wouldn't even wish him on my rival club. Like that's how bad he's. Like a real liability.
It's great. He had a good season. I think he'll.
I have such a bitter taste with him in a Roma jersey that it's one of those things.
By the way,
you wouldn't wish him on your worst enemy.
Hey, Mass, I'm actually drinking this shit coffee called Tim Hortons, which I bought at the gas station tonight.
Hey, you drink coffee at 8 p.m.? If I drank coffee this late, I'd be up all night.
Coffee's water.
They sell coffee like Tim Hortons coffee, or is it like a Tim's attached to a gas station?
Tim's attached to the gas station.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was getting gas and I picked up 4 coffees, and that's the only way I'll buy Tim Hortons coffee, because I'll never go out of my way to buy Tim Hortons coffee because it's shit. It's shit coffee, but I don't mind if I don't drink it for like 6 months. It's like, okay, I'll have one. I'm there, but I won't go out of my way to go buy this coffee. Starbucks is the best, and that's all I can say. Like, you pay for what you get. Starbucks is so good, man. Freaking Tim Hortons is like freaking salt and water. Like, it's
salt and water.
No, it hasn't been the same.
McDonald's bought the Tim Hortons recipe.
Really?
Yeah, they bought out the recipe. The actual.
Do they use it worldwide or just in Canada?
I don't know, actually. Maybe worldwide, maybe just Canada. But the coffee at McDonald's is so much better compared to like Tim Hortons. You can just taste the grind and everything. But I think we're getting off topic here because it's coffee thing. But yeah, Joe Fischetti from Forza Napoli podcast is gonna like fast forward this section now. He's like, what is this coffee talk? He's like, where's the football talk? I know how he is.
Well, listen, I want to let Mass, and you can see he's decked out in the Roma gear. Show us the hat. Lean forward a little bit. He's got the Roma hat on. And listen, I got to be honest with you, man. I love watching Jose Mourinho celebrate, especially when it's a European trophy. So I took more enjoyment in that than I thought that I would. I still have a lot of love for Mo, given the colors that I'm wearing, of course. So talk us through that match, Mass, because I mentioned Rui Patricio standing on his head. I thought the back line played very well. It was a beautiful goal by Zaniolo. What were your other big takeaways from that W over Feyenoord?
Spinazzola, when they subbed him in for Zalewski, because they obviously need to get some subs in. Everyone was starting to look tired the way they were kind of just chasing the ball at the end. We weren't really attacking at the end. Like that last 45 to 50 was really, really stressful to watch. Like I aged significantly for those 50 minutes just watching them.
Yeah.
Especially that quick part of play where the shot off the goalpost and Rui Patricio made like a couple saves back to back. It was pretty stressful, but Spinazzola looked like he never missed a beat. Like you saw him on the field taking on defenders, and I think it was one of the Feyenoord subs. It might have been Peterson. It looked like he just jogged by him. Like he doesn't even look like he lost any pace either, which is great considering how much of an effect some non-contact injuries like an Achilles or an ACL will have on a player's pace and his movement. He looked great. It was good to see him come back and obviously win another trophy. He was crucial with, like we said, like with Italy's run in the Euro up until he got injured, but it's just good to see him come back and then find success and get another piece of silverware at the same time. It kind of comes full circle, I find, for him that he couldn't complete the mission with Italy at the time.
Yeah.
I really like Zalewski a lot. He's looking really good. He looked great all game. The backline, like you said, I think it's probably the best they've played all season. They were absolutely lights out. They were playing like they were on a mission to like keep Patricio's like clean sheet. It was crazy. Smalling was phenomenal. He's been looking good now that he's healthy again. The only few things that I do worry about, and I'm hoping they address certain parts of these issues on the field moving forward, is Brian, like a proper center defensive mid. Like Mkhitaryan went down and they had to put in, I think, Oliveira, because I don't think Oliveira started the game. I think it was Cristante, Mkhitaryan, Pellegrini in the mid. And I feel like Cristante, there was a couple of moments where he just lacked awareness on the field. Like he has the ball, but he doesn't realize that there's a player pressing him from behind, almost coughs it up. One bad pass, I think, that almost turned into a chance on net for Feyenoord. Even Oliveira was a little worrisome. Like he came out hot, and I remember I was on with Chris DeSantis on our podcast when we had just signed him, and he started off really strong coming off that Mercato. He didn't look very good yesterday either. He had another moment too where he didn't make a run. He was looking for a pass going to the corner, but he just it's like he was like lacking ball awareness. Like the ball was going to his right and he's looking left. Well, eventually, obviously, we'll address these issues in the coming Mercato, hopefully. But all in all, the team, considering where we were the last 2 years, major improvements moving forward. And I mean, it can only go up from here, considering how the season ended for them, despite their finish on the table.
Right. I know it's Conference League, but that's Roma's first European trophy since 1961. It's a big deal. And I want to throw this around the room here because this is now, I want to make sure I'm very clear on what I'm asking you guys, because I'm not saying Roma were a better team than Inter this season. I mean, I think that was pretty clearly seen on the pitch in the 3 meetings this year. And I'm not saying Roma had a better season, but if you just compare the trophies, what do you guys think is the bigger accomplishment, winning Coppa and Supercoppa or winning the UEFA Conference League? Because, Mass, I actually think that if I just go by the trophies and accomplishments, I'm going to give the edge to Conference League because it is a European trophy. And I know it's the third-tier league, whatever, but watching the game, watching the final, it did have a big game feel to it. watching the way that Roma celebrated and Jose celebrated, I mean, it felt bigger than I even expected it would to see that happen. And, you're going up against foreign competition, whereas, Copa, it's only domestic. Certain teams take it more seriously than others. Supercopa is just a one-off. So honestly, I think UEFA Conference League, I think, was the bigger trophy than Copa and Supercopa. What do you think, Mass?
I want to give the edge to the UEFA Conference League. I'm just kind of looking up the teams that were in it and the Final Four, like as much as everyone's like, oh, it's a third-rate competition in Europe, you're playing against teams that are, I mean, like obviously like we were saying this before the pod, you have teams like Bodo Glimt and a lot of these other like random lower division teams, fine. But when you get to the Final Four, we had to go through Leicester. Feyenoord had to go through Marseille. Or was it Marseille? It was a French. It had to have been Marseille or a French team.
So, yeah.
So, so it's not that, fine. Or maybe in the earlier stages, the competition is a bit weaker because you're not playing teams outright like you would in Europa, like a Sevilla, or like teams out in Champions League, like your Real Madrids, your Atleticos. But you got to give some respect too, because obviously, like in those competitions, as you kind of progress through them, the competition does get harder, and those weaker teams do get weeded out, as you saw in the Final Four of the Europa League the Conference League competition. So I'm always going to be a proponent for European silverware over domestic for the most part, because it kind of just you could kind of see how you stack against certain competitions outside of the evil within your table, right? So, but by all means, I mean, considering how tight things were for Serie A this year, I mean, maybe this year I can see where the merits are of winning a Coppa Italia and a Supercoppa come from, because the competition was tight. I think it was decided on the last day, if I'm not mistaken, for AC Milan, right? So
it was, on the final
exactly
day.
So like, when's the last time the Scudetto was decided on the final day? If you think about it,
that's a great question, because even the year when it was like back in like 2018, when it was really close between Napoli and Juve, I think it had already been decided like the second to last match day, if I'm not mistaken. Like didn't even come down to the final day. And by the way, I thought I could get away with it since it's so late in the week to not acknowledge Milan Scudetto. I did already have to acknowledge it this week, because on Monday I was a guest on the Raff and Raff rant, and we talked about the ending of the Scudetto race and stuff. And listen, I'm big about it. Congratulations to Milan, honestly. Like, I've got some really good friends who are Milan supporters, and Inter didn't do enough. Milan did enough. They were the more consistent side. They won the head-to-head domestically, or in the Serie A anyway. That was really important to them. So, to Dino, congratulations, sir. So, Jerry, what do you think in terms of for Inter winning Supercoppa and Coppa? What's the bigger accomplishment just based on trophies? Is it Coppa and Supercoppa, or is it Roma getting European hardware in the Conference League?
I'm gonna vouch with Coppa only because look at these teams. Look at the teams that they had to go by. No offense to Roma. Like, I would hope they go to the finals, because the hardest team they had to play was Leicester. Now, you name me another team that they had to play in this tournament that I even know or ever heard of before this tournament was even came into existence. I never knew who Bobo Glimp is. They're a bunch of Icelanders who go tobogganing, for God's sake. And I'm not trying to beat down Roma, because I think a trophy is a trophy at the end of the day. It doesn't matter what you win, in respect. And I get that they have what do you call it? A massive budget. And I know what Mass was saying before, that there's a lot of outgoing and ingoing, but at the end of the day, they still spent $550 million between who knows how many regimes has taken over before this freaking group came in, and the amount of bad spending. But like, look, they needed a last second goal against Vitesse, which I was telling Mass, that's probably, I think someone was saying that was like one of the biggest spenders of a club of 50 million. And it took them a last shot in respect to Roma for coming back and battling. But like, I don't know, man. Like, if you throw Inter, okay, or Juventus into this tournament, do they get by? right? Do they get by a Milan in this tournament? And that's where you got to think, because they couldn't get by that in the Coppa Italia, and they struggled in the first round against Lecce, if I remember, if it
In
was the
Coppa?
first
Yeah.
in the Coppa. Like, I just think that the Coppa is so much harder to get by because of how deeper those teams are compared to what Roma had to kind of battle in the Conference League. Now, it's never easy battling between 3-4 competitions as well. It is difficult to play midweek and then having to play on the weekend. So Coppa Italia doesn't really take into place until you got January, really. So in defense, Europe, the Conference League, you still are playing more teams.
Yeah, I still kind of
I think
default to. Yeah.
It's hard to compare too, because Coppa Italia is only you play around the 16. It's so shit because all the good teams automatically make it. If you finish top 8 in the league, you automatically make it. Okay, so you skip 5 games. I think it's a hard argument because Conference League, there's so much more. So obviously people are going to say Conference League is harder than the Coppa Italia because you got to balance between the two. But if you really think about it and you go to January and start from there, I find that the Coppa Italia is harder because of what you have to kind of play against. But I'm throwing myself back and forth here. But at the end of the day, it's a hard. You can't make the comparison. That's what I want to say. You can't, because there is no group stage for Roma or Lazio or whoever. There isn't like having to play 6 games and then having to play 2 and then 2 and then 2 and then 2. So obviously it's going to be the Conference League. So I will say this though. I think if you had to do a comparison, I think the competition in the Coppa Italia is much stronger compared to the Conference League.
I could give you that. But I still think that winning an international trophy is a bigger deal. So I'm just gonna and Jared brought up some good arguments just as far as like the actual difficulty of the competition, because obviously to win Coppa Italia you've got to get through the Milans and the Juves and the Inters and the Napolis, which on paper that's stiffer competition than the bulk of Conference League. I just think that getting international trophy I think is the bigger deal. So it's like less difficult, more prestigious. I'll go with that.
Yeah, you can look like that. That's fair.
I mean, the difficulty you could sort of make an argument to an extent, but like as we're discussing this and Jerry was making his points, I went to take a look. Like for the round of 16, teams of note that you can say that are difficult to kind of get through. You had Marseille, Leicester.
That's about it.
No, PSV finished second in the Eredivisie this year. And I think Feyenoord was only like.
Bro, you're talking the Dutch league. Ajax is the only team that can sustain Champions League. Okay?
No, but I've seen PSV make their runs.
They were in the Champions League a couple years ago. PSV.
Exactly. So you can't really make that
to go down.
PSV Eindhoven.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So
PSV
maybe,
Eindhoven.
But the same argument you can make about the Eredivisie not being what it was is the same argument you can make about Serie A not being able to really compete that much in Europe, right?
Yeah.
Well, I refuse to banter the Conference League for one reason. I see people like making fun of it on Twitter. I won't do it, man, because if I were Lazio fans, I would hide those tweets, because if you ever make Conference League and you don't win it in your first chance, there's gonna be a lot of bantering. Like against
any Serie A team. Imagine a Juve get somehow, like let's say by some act of God.
Telling you, man,
they're in Conference.
If that ever happens, it's gonna be the best year of my life. If they're
but just to say, you wouldn't want to be that team where the shoe falls on the other foot for you. Where it's like you have an Inter, a Juve, an AC Milan, a Lazio, a Fiorentina in Conference League. Roma wins at their first goal, but then you guys are not making it past certain rounds. You know what I mean? Like, are not progressing as far as you should.
If you're in it, you want to win it, right? Like a couple years ago, when Inter got to the Europa League final, it's like, listen, I was disappointed to be in Europa League because they had to come in third place in the Champions League group stage to get there. But then by the time they got to the final, they ended up losing that final to Sevilla. But when they got to that final, I wanted to win that thing, and I would have celebrated if they had won it. I would have gone crazy.
My mindset is a trophy is a trophy, guys. Say what you will. I'll concede on the bonsai tree, Jerry, a bit. I mean, that's more of a glorified
That was a preseason thing.
Yeah, it's like a glorified friendly competition.
Yeah.
You just walk away with a participation medal more than
Who did
anything.
you guys beat to get that bonsai tree? I don't remember.
Oh my
Madrid,
God,
I think. Was it Madrid?
It had to have been one of those teams.
Madrid,
I can't remember
I
off the top.
I think it was Real Madrid.
That sounds right, actually. I think it was.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. The bonsai tree is always going to be sacred, though. I think people forget that
It's
always going to be history.
That's a great banter point. It's a great banter
Well, what
point.
was it? Skamaka's dad who vandalized and destroyed the bonsai tree? Was that what happened?
Yeah.
It's one sexy ass shirt, Lisa says.
You should see how many I bought, Lisa. I bought so much in the last month. It's bad. Like I went from like football apparel to like hockey apparel. But I'll end it with I agree with Chris DeSantis there. Like the traveling does become hard, and in defense to Roma, having to play the longest until the end, and Sarri has kind of like vouched about it. Playing on Thursday is more difficult than having to play on Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah,
because
absolutely. Yeah,
if you play on a Tuesday in Champions League, you have the extra days to rest. And then you play on Sunday. And I know you play Sunday and then you play Tuesday or you play Wednesday. But I think that from a standpoint, I think that you would prefer to have that extra days to lead into the Serie A match and not have to play Thursday and then have to play Sunday. And then you only have 3 days rest to the next game. And it's like you're playing right in the middle. It kind of screws up both schedules if you really think about it. So,
and if you factor in travel too, right?
Yeah,
like if you're
traveling.
really traveling far.
Yeah.
So
you got to go to like Scandinavia for half of these matches in the conference league.
Yeah, we had there was a lot of travel for the Roma team. It was better, obviously, closer to as a competition dwindled down. I mean, I think to Leicester, it's like where you're traveling to England, it's like maybe like an hour and a half by plane, an hour tops, depending where you're going. So,
but in terms of the game, I thought that Roma played really good defensively.
Yeah.
And that was a soft goal that Roma scored, but it was a really poor defensive mistake by Feyenoord. Like I thought that Roma may have really pounded them, but I guess they decided that once they had the lead that they decided to play more defensive minded but they had their chances too to score and that goalkeeper made a lot of good saves. I don't know what his name is, to be honest, but
they said his name when you like in the last like 15 minutes. He was in the box for a corner. It starts with a B, but I
don't remember.
He made like 3 or 4 good saves in the last 20 minutes.
He robbed Pellegrini for that insurance goal too. Like in goals.
And that was a sick strike too, man.
Yeah, on the volley and
I thought that was going to go in. I mean,
The sense of dread just like really exponentially went up when I saw him make that stop. I'm like, that was the insurance goal we needed, and it just didn't. It didn't hit.
But like, I think that Rui Patricio had some luck on his side along with Roma. He made 2 or 3 saves that hit the goalpost 2 or 3 times.
Well,
like,
that's
first when you know it's your night, man.
Yeah. Well, there was that one that hit the post that was like a deflection, and he couldn't see it. Like there were so many bodies in front of him. Like
it was
no
tight.
chance he would have seen it.
I think that's the best signing by Roma. I'm gonna be honest, because they always lacked having a goalkeeper.
Yeah, since Allison, they've struggled. Yeah.
I think this is like the first goalkeeper that can make a save for them.
Having a goalie with with sure hands, where you're not worried about a player getting in on him, that you know he can make a save or has that chance of making a save, it's great to have. It's a great feeling.
Who's the guy who they went with to the semifinals of the Champions League? Was that Olsen?
Allison.
Was Allison?
It was Allison. Yeah. Ever since Olsen left, I don't think we made past the quarters that year. I can't remember.
They had Olsen, and then they went to, I don't know who they had after that. I forgot who the other guy was. The guy with the slick hair there. I forgot his name.
Morante.
Yeah, they had Morante. Another freaking. And then they went to Paul Lopez. No, that was I think that's probably the biggest waste of money.
Olsen, I think Olsen was more expensive than Paul Lopez.
Yeah, he was for sure.
Yeah. We bought Olsen off high stock after his
the World Cup. He was so good. He was so like, I
Unreal.
remember watching him in the 2018 World Cup. You're like, oh, Roma's so lucky. They're replacing Allison with Olsen. It's a great signing.
Absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
Figo, no comment.
I love it. And by the way,
I think we're going to be the longest team to not win a trophy soon. Don't worry.
Oh man! Well, welcome to those who are here in the live chat. Our guy Figo, I know he, and this is why I have to make sure I wear an Inter jersey for every episode, because if I don't have one on, Lord Figo yells at me and I go put one on. So I was ready. Michael Lisi, and congratulations, Michael. Congratulations on your Scudetto. I'll be the big man here. He probably wished me congratulations last year. Lisi's a classy guy, so I will return the favor. Chris and Stannis, welcome in. Our guy Cliff, no more bonsai trophy.
Chris, there's always gonna be a bonsai trophy. Don't you worry. They made the Conference League meme into a freaking bonsai tree. Okay, they put the bonsai tree into the vase. Okay, I wish I was able to like Photoshop shit like that.
I think I threw that into our group chat. I told Adriano because he's like the mastermind behind the boys at the Calcio podcast, the Calcio Boys. I'm like, I'm sure you could do your magic. Try and Photoshop the bonsai tree into the trophy of the Europa Conference League. I think it was him who delivered, but anyway, we'll give credit where it's due when we find out.
That is too good. I want to go through a couple Mercato things. I've got a question for Mass, actually, because I'm starting to see some reports today. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know how I should feel about it, that are linking Henrick Mkhitaryan to Inter on a free. He has been offered a new deal by Roma. Apparently, Inter either have offered him or are interested in offering him. I'm not sure. I hope it's a 1-year offer and not a 2-year offer, because I'm not a big fan of making longer-term commitments to older players, as I think we've done too often. But quite frankly, Mass, how much gas do you think Mkhitaryan has left in the tank?
I don't know. I think from what I saw in terms of the deal is Inter had offered him a 2-year deal, and Roma was offering him a one. That's
smart. The 1-year deal, that's what anybody should offer him.
It's a one with a possibility to extend if certain requirements were met. That's what I kind of saw floating around. On a 1 year, it would make sense because obviously he wasn't fully fit to play the final, and you saw him get off early too.
Yeah,
and that's the thing, because if you look at the teams he's played for, he's been putting in some minutes, and even with Roma, he's a great veteran presence to have on the field. Like, he has his days where he can really help your team out in the midfield. But this late in his career, it's a little.
I don't think
it's a bit iffy to go long.
I don't think it's risky.
But are you signing him as a starter, or are you gonna put him in as a power sub?
Yeah, probably power sub.
Power sub.
I think that's great, man.
For sure.
Great signing.
Yeah. I wouldn't sign him on a 2-year expecting him to start every game. I wouldn't expect that of him with Roma either anymore.
I think 2-year deal on a super sub, though, like on a power sub, is
he could be impactful in fewer minutes. I don't see him doing a full 75 to 90 anymore.
Well, here's the thing: who was the fourth option that Inter normally had to rely on? You know what I mean? Vidal, exactly. Vidal's worse than Mkhitaryan. At least Mkhitaryan is he keeps himself in condition.
I do agree, actually. Mkhitaryan would be an upgrade over Vidal at that same spot. I do agree on that.
Different player, but he better impact. I find better bang for buck if you were to get Mkhitaryan.
Vidal is just like the older he gets, it's like not only is he like dropping off physically, which you expect, but the IQ is getting even lower. Like the football, and I know Vidal has always been volatile type of player. He's going to get you, a couple of unfortunate red cards and some bad yellows. Like, he's always been that guy, even when he was in his 20s. But like, the football IQ has dropped even lower. Like, at least I feel like Henrick Mkhitaryan has a higher football IQ at this point than Vidal.
Which you would think the football IQ would kind of make up for the lack of physicality, especially that Arturo Vidal is that type of player that you want to go box to box and winning you balls, like similar to a Nainggolan. You know what I mean? Like, but if your football IQ is not there, you're of no use, because you can't be physical like you used to be, at least be in the right spots. But if you can't even do that or make the right plays, there's no point anymore. You know what I mean?
You also have to remember the budget of Inter too. This is not going to be a team. They're not going to do another Correa $31 million buying a barbecue chef. Okay, like
honestly, I wouldn't like. I
States.
don't want that, obviously, but I wouldn't rule it out because I think, and this just makes me sad. I think they're going to sell Bastoni. It's looking that way.
Big mistake,
It's
man.
Huge mistake. I think it's probably going to end up being Tottenham. It's definitely Premier League because the price tag on him that they're putting is so high. They're pricing out the Serie A, so they're going to sell him to Premier League.
Did you see the price for Bastoni? They price him at, they said 60 million is fine. It's an adequate price. Are you stupid? The guy is 23 years old. He's only going to get better. He's developing into a quality center back. I'm telling you right now, if I was Beppe Marotta and I had to make a decision, I'd sell Lautaro Martinez over.
I would too. I agree 100%. But the problem is like you can't sell somebody who refuses to leave.
Sure you can.
I'm actually. It's hard. It's really hard. That's it's hard to sell somebody who doesn't want to leave. Like if Lautaro wanted to leave, they would have sold him to Tottenham last year.
Does he have a clause that restricts him from being sold?
Is there like a no trade clause similar to like hockey and other sports? Like I don't understand. Why can't they?
That's how it works. He can't like it's not like hockey or American football where you can just say like, oh, I'm trading you. Like no, the player has to agree to go. Like sometimes it takes some convincing. And then you can convince them to leave, but you can't force a player to leave. They have to agree to the move. And everything that I'm hearing and reading is that. And listen, God bless him. He loves Inter this much. Lautaro is basically refusing to leave. Milan Skriniar, by the way, is refusing to leave. Apparently they've gotten an offer or two from him, like substantial offers. Doesn't want to go. I guess Bastoni's not refusing to leave. He might think, you know what, I'm young. If I'm going to go abroad, this is a good time to do it, make some big Premier League money. So I think that's how it goes.
I think he'd be automatically top 5 center backs in the Prem, probably if he keeps it up.
I think so.
And you know what's crazy is that they're going to get him for much cheaper. Like you see like random Premier League players get these crazy premium price tags attached to them, but you're only going to get rid of Bastoni for 60 mil. It doesn't make sense to me. He's much better than a lot of defenders in the Prem. They could probably strangle them into getting a bit more or strong arm them into getting more money.
Yeah.
Well, here's all okay.
I would for the Premier League. Put a ridiculous price tag.
Yeah, exactly. The Prem tax.
This could have been avoided though.
Exactly.
This all could have been avoided though. Because I don't understand. You sold Lukaku for like 120 million, some ludicrous price. You sold, which they still haven't got paid for apparently by Chelsea.
Really?
Apparently.
Oh yeah, because now their assets are frozen.
Yeah. They just got a new owner. They sold Hakimi for 60, 70 million.
Yeah.
They could have got more for that. They got ripped off, in my opinion. But
it's hard. Like there's certain positions it's harder to get like gigantic.
You get a guy like that.
For. Yeah.
But the problem is their back was against the wall, and they were forced because people knew their situation. Sometimes it's better just to not say nothing.
Yeah, that could happen again here. Yeah.
So you make 2 big sales, and all of a sudden you know that money's an issue. You go sign Correa, you buy Correa, and that doesn't help you now because now you spent money that you don't need to. You bought a player that doesn't really benefit your team. I'm sorry. Like I know. Our boy Sharma is a big Correa fan, I guess. If you
Correa sexual,
yeah. But I'm sorry. Like, I get he scored 4 goals or 6 goals this year. I get it in 3 separate games, but
6 goals in 3 games, which is a weird split.
It's a weird split, but like it's not what you guys you didn't get the full Correa. He's always hurt. I think that his injuries is never gonna end. He's very fragile. Like.
Well, and I'll say, like,
that money could be used to keep Bastoni. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, and honestly, and on Correa's injuries, if the Inter training staff can't keep you healthy, I don't think anybody can because they've been able to work miracles with just about everybody except Stefano Sensi and Joaquin Correa. Like everyone else, they've been able to work miracles on except for those guys. But yeah, no, listen, obviously you're right, Jerry. I mean, bad financial decisions in 2021 are going to affect you in 2022. You paid 31 million euros for a grill chef, right? Which is essentially what Correa is. And now you're going to have to sacrifice, one of your best players. Also, but I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on the finer things in this because the accounting is also fucking weird with this stuff. Like the accounting is very weird. So like spending money on a player last season doesn't necessarily affect your books the same way with the plus valenza you need to make the season later. So I can't say with 100% certainty how much the 31 million that they spent on Correa affects needing to make 60. Yeah, but so they need to make the reports are that Inter need to make at least 60 million euro in capital gains, like net 60 million euro profit in the market, and they essentially think that they could get that in one foul swoop by selling someone like Bastoni or Lautaro or Skriniar, he will refuse to leave.
So
it seems like
I think Inter is really heading down a Lazio road with Suning. And this is how I see it.
They need to sell.
Yeah, they need to sell because they are going the Lotito way. And I hate to say this to Inter fans, they're probably going to disagree with me. Some may agree. That Suning doesn't want to inject money into the club anymore.
Yeah, they can't.
One, they can't. And two, I think even if they had the money, I think they don't want to anymore. That's my perception. I could be wrong. I don't know the ins and outs, but considering what the situation is, how much they're losing and they're not able to use it and whatever their financial situation is, I know it's getting bad. You think they want to put their own money into the club now compared to before the pandemic where they had the money to do it? I'm not an expert. I could be wrong, but my theory of how I'm looking at it now is they want to sell their players, get that money to kind of balance the books with their sponsors or whatever they can get, and use that to build their squad around.
Yeah,
they're not going to put like they used to 200 million to the club, 150, and try to grow it outside of sales. Try to keep their best players. They don't care. Suning does not care that a Bastoni can go for 70, 80 million. They're going to do it. They're going to turn around. They're going to buy a player for 30 million who's probably decent, keep the other 40, put it into the club to pay off their debts, and that's what they're going to keep doing every year.
Well, wait, here's what I worry about because they are maintaining short-term goals because I do think they seriously want to be competitive, short term, right? Which is why they're going out and they're like this close to signing Paulo Dybala because they look at that as a big short-term investment. But the problem is when you're in their financial situation, everything that Jerry just talked about, it puts you in a position where it is impossible to have short-term and long-term plans simultaneously. You've got to sacrifice one or the other. And they're sacrificing the long-term for the short-term, right? Where they're like, okay, you know what? We can go out and get a guy like Paulo Dybala who's going to sell a ton of jerseys for whatever that's worth. And, if we can find a way to keep him healthy, he can help us, accomplish important goals. Very popular player. He's going to move the needle for us. But then, you have a hard time now making investments on younger players, like a guy like Fratesi, who I'd like to have, Raspadori, like who do have high price tags, but they're young ascending players. You can't do both. Like you can't hand out big wages to someone like Dybala on a free transfer. Now, I think they are going to sign Gleison Bremer, which I think would be a gigantic move. That would be a really nice replacement for Bastoni. That would be a smart move. So if they can cross the finish line with that, because they haven't agreed with Torino yet, they've agreed with Bremer, and so they're doing that power play move that the big Italian clubs do, right? Juventus, Inter, they do this all the time with the smaller clubs where they're like, hey, we'll pay you this much for the player. Torino is like, well, screw you, he's worth way more. Then they negotiate with the player. The player refuses any other move but the move to Inter or Juve or Milan, whatever. Roma's done it like that before. So yeah, I think Bremer would be a great short-term and long-term move, but overall, I think they have to sacrifice some of those long-term moves in order to try and be competitive short-term. So that just means it's not sustainable, right? I mean, like this year, they really needed to win a Scudetto, and they didn't. They fell just short of it, right? Because we don't know what tomorrow and the day after tomorrow is going to hold. What do you guys think of this from Dino in Champions League? Which Italian team?
Call me in August.
Yeah.
Then I'll tell you my prediction.
Once you get the draw, right?
Yeah. Not even the draw. Once I'll give an assessment based on what teams do in the transfer market.
That's a good call.
Yeah.
And then after that, like, don't look at these teams now. Don't look at Lazio, what they look like. Don't look at Roma. Roma's already losing Mkhitaryan, so you take
maybe he might stay, right, Mass?
Yeah. Well, like we said, nothing's official, right? There's like the rumors are floating on what's been offered to him from Inter and with Roma. So I mean, look, they're still celebrating.
Money talks.
Money does talk, fair.
35 years old.
From what Alex is saying right now, it doesn't look like Inter has the money to splash, right? And do you want to risk it on a player?
No, they
like
do.
A Mkhitaryan? They do, but to an end.
But they're free transfers now. They're like a hockey team.
Exactly.
They're exactly like a hockey
here's
team.
The way.
They're buying free agents.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right. So here's the way that they look at it. It's like they've got their transfer fee budget and they have their wage budget. So Alexis, who's on very high wages, he's not coming back. Arturo Vidal, who's on they're kicking all the Chileans to the curb, basically. Like Alexis,
the mercenaries out.
Arturo, who are on high wages, they're out. Matias Vecino, who may end up at Lazio, from what I've been reading, he's on pretty high wages. No, they're not going to bring him in.
He's said today that he has no idea what people are talking about. He has absolutely not even talked to Lazio.
Really?
He hasn't talked to anyone yet. He's had a lot of offers abroad. He's not going to Lazio. I hope he doesn't come to Lazio.
I hope not. I wouldn't wish him on Lazio. He's so finished.
Not that I can't say that because I don't watch him religiously like you do.
No, trust me, Jerry. He's completely finished. Like he 2 years ago, he was still kind of a serviceable player. No longer.
It's gonna be interesting. Well, we can talk about that another day, but at the end of the day,
especially teams like Napoli too, where you have rumors that Koulibaly is gonna be out the door, Osimhen too. Like you can't really start making these judgments yet until we see what they do bring in and what actually heads out the door.
Is it true that ADL said that he would accept 30 to 35 million for him?
Is this true? Koulibaly?
Yeah. Is that true though? Are those firm? I need to know.
That seems hard to believe, considering like a couple years ago he was turning down such huge money for him. Wow!
And now he's willing to sell for a fraction of what they were offering. Yeah.
I mean, I know he's a lot older now and more amortized like money. So I don't know. Maybe financially it would make sense, but I'd still be surprised.
The bigger question I have, I'll end with this, maybe the fact that the last thing, is it true? And I need somebody, maybe Joel, you can answer this from Forza Napoli podcast. Call me or text me the answer, or any Napoli guy. Because I have a tweet in the background hiding at the moment. And I can't send this out until I know it's firm.
Okay.
Did ADL offer Koulibaly $3.5 million in his new contract? I heard that ADL offered a new contract at $3.5 million per year. Half of what he's currently making with Napoli. I think that's ludicrous. Why would you? He's top 3 center back in the league. I think you right now, tomorrow morning, he goes to any team, say in the EPL, he is the link to their back end to make them a Champions League contender.
He walks into any starting 11 in EPL.
Any of them.
Now, I just need to know, because I had a tweet that I wanted to tweet out, and I don't want to do it unless I know I'm not spreading out rumors. That's just not what I want to do. But I don't have it on me right now, but I just want to know if the Koulibaly thing is actually accurate, because for me, it's like, so this is May 25th. Two things. Napoli has
the source. Where did you see it?
Hold on. Napoli has not set any salary cap at $3.5 million, and the offer made at Koulibaly is not $3 million, but $4.5.
Oh.
But you decide if the CDs and the Gazette speak of a good name for Napoli, don't believe it. If they then write these things, yes, take a stand. This is Armando Coppola. I don't know who the heck this is.
I don't know who that is either.
This is a random. So I just don't want to.
Is he related to Francis Ford Coppola, director of The Godfather?
So look, Tottenham Spurs who's the Spurs Express, Tottenham Hotspurs. Oh no, this is 2020. Never mind. This is
Dude, I would not believe anything that comes from
yeah.
a Tottenham Hotspur news site.
No.
Look, who's Scotto tweet? Scotto tweet is Giovanni Scotto from Radio, and he said Koulibaly received a new contract offer of 3.5 million per season for Napoli, and turned it down. That's half of what he currently earns from his current contract. Napoli values him at 30 million euros.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, and this might be pretty reliable.
Donno, tell Inter to sell.
Scotto.
Tell Inter to sell Bastoni, get Koulibaly for that price.
He's from Radio.
For real.
Radio is like
point.
one of the prime sources for
it's like a Napoli based outlet, I believe, right? Because I've heard
Joe,
them cited before.
Man. I'd like to know because I think I have a tweet ready saying that this is ludicrous. I think to offer 3.5 million to your best player is a slap in the face.
But it seems on brand for ADL. That's the problem. Like with the current trending of things, I feel like it's very on brand for him to keep doing this to his best players.
Yeah, and also it's very on brand for ADL to make a super low ball first offer. You know,
hold on. Koulibaly never said he doesn't want to renew. No, that's not true. I'm sorry, Dino. I saw a report where he didn't counter after the contract. Like he didn't say sell me after the poor contract offer, but he wasn't happy. But he didn't say it to be sold. I've never seen anybody yet report that he wants out of Italy. I know that he's happy. He's negotiating. I think he wants to get paid what he deserves, and he'll stay in Napoli. I have not seen him say. I can say that I have not seen anybody say that he wants out of Italy. I'll be the first to say that.
Getting paid what you deserved and ADL don't really jive, apparently. So,
well, what he thinks he deserves.
Lotito part two, man.
I think Lotito's on another level, though, Jerry. Like over the years, I feel like it's progressively gotten worse for Lazio on that front with Lotito.
ADL is in that neighborhood too, though. Like
he's in that neighborhood, but I still don't think to the extreme that Lotito is or has been recently. So
I don't know because during the pandemic, we were one of the two teams to only pay our players on time and have the money for their wages, and he kind of combated the whole issue of the COVID. And then it's not Lotito, it's he pays Immobile, his best players, good money. He doesn't pay he pays his top players. He's given Immobile, Savage, Alberto, and Acerbi 3 raises already. He's already reconstructed and given them raises, good substantial money for what Lazio can pay. He values his best players. It's not the wages, but it's the business that has been done since I would say after the 2017-18 season, where it's really dipped off, where we signed a guy like Koulibaly, okay? Not Koulibaly. We signed a guy like Zaccagni, okay, for 7 million.
Steal.
Then you turn around.
Steal.
And then you turn around and you're like, how did you sign Riccio for 20 million? And no disrespect to the guy, because he's killing in La Liga. And
True.
I guess you can't just say all of a sudden shit. He scored 5 goals. 5 goals more than a lot of players have scored in Serie A. I'll tell you that.
Just bad for Serie A, maybe. Certain players just don't fit.
Yeah.
They just don't fit.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. It's not Lotito's the issue. I think the issue is how the money's being spent. You look at Mohamed Fades, $10 million. $10 million for Lazio is not peanuts. It's not.
No.
It's money, man. It's money that has to be invested properly. Dennis Vavro, $12 million. Where did that go to? He's played what? 5-6 games and
down the drain.
Like he went to Copenhagen and was their best player, and he was voted MVP of the season. Okay, he was voted best defender in the league. So how does that
Copenhagen?
No, but here's the thing. You can argue that, Jerry, and I agree because you're saying, you're seeing all these players leave Serie A and having success elsewhere. But a lot of players that have come from bigger leagues like Lukaku, Tevez, they said it, even Ronaldo, coming into the Serie A, it's a whole other monster.
Yeah.
Fine, we're not really going toe-to-toe.
Hold on. You said bigger league. I'm sorry to cut you off. You said bigger league.
La Liga,
Copenhagen,
I would say
Copenhagen is not a bigger league.
No, but just
The
to
Turkish
say,
league is not a bigger league.
No, I agree with you. But you were
That's
saying
the thing.
Murici went to what? La Liga, you said, right?
Yeah, but
La
exactly.
Liga, I would put La Liga above Serie A right now in terms of
I would.
growth.
Absolutely not.
I would.
I would not,
Sorry,
man.
Jerry.
I think Serie A is much more competitive. compared
We
to La
agree.
Liga.
Competitive is different, but
no,
as far as just
no,
overall quality, I
quality.
only put
Who
In
do you
terms of-
have? Real Madrid, Barcelona, and
in-
Sevilla?
In terms of marketing, I'm gonna say it's bigger. Because us as
It's not
Serie A,
marketing, but
as Serie A watchers, we're diehard fans.
I don't know, man.
We all agree that Serie A is a fantastic league.
I don't know.
But I still don't think, and I'm still a big proponent of that, and I don't care how we compare outside Europe. I still think Serie A is a better league than the Prem or La Liga or PSG in terms of difficulty. Because you see players come into Serie A and struggle despite finding success elsewhere in some of those bigger leagues. Tevez has come out and said it when he played for Juve. It's harder to score in Serie A. A lot of the strikers have said it. A lot of players have come and said there's a certain difficulty adapting to the type of play in Serie A compared to other leagues.
I know. I watched La Liga last year, and when you have to play 60% of the teams have to adapt and choose to play 4-4-2. To me, it's
I agree, but I'm just saying, like, you see players come from elsewhere in those bigger leagues and struggle despite being successful there. You're not putting up the same video game numbers you would playing in the Premier League, putting up 50 goals. Like, you're slash that by like maybe a third. You know what I mean? Playing in Serie A because
fellas, I feel like we stumbled into something I want to continue on another episode because I got to run.
Sure.
I haven't eaten dinner. I'm freaking starving. So
right.
huge shout out and thanks to Mass Riccio down below. Huge shout out and thanks, of course, to the it's always like the opposite direction of where you think you're pointing. Huge thanks to Jerry Mancini, who is the man, the myth, the legend. I'm Alex Donno. Make sure you follow our show on Twitter at CalcioConPod. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel at Calcio Connection, and we will talk to you guys again next time on another episode of the Calcio Connection podcast. Ciao.